Did you hear about this?
Yeah, it's live. You're live. You're on. You're on the air. You can say it if you want. Okay. Hello from the Breslov Center. Hey, everyone. What's your name again? Okay. You're Yosef. Yosef. Eddie. Yes, birthday. Thanks for coming. Okay, so I was studying about the life of the guy who ran U.S. Steel. It was like hugely.
Andrew Carnegie?
Maybe as well. Reading his biography, and it's live by the way. And so they said, like, what's the secret of your success? And he said, like, every morning I get up and I make a list of the 10 things I need to do that day, and then I do it.
Oh wow!
They said, like, that's it. It's like that's it. So I was thinking about that in terms of Hispodidus and like the whole like coaching movement in America and all these like just all these life coaching things like that. It's very like parallel to the Hispodidus thing on one way, and then another way it's divergent. I think the main thing that's divergent is it's all about like success in this life now, like that. In general, if you take all those movements as a whole. It's all about, business coaching or whatever. It's all about, how to succeed in this life now, sort of, as if there's, if you have a spiritual question, you go to your priest about that. You go to your rabbi, I'm just your business coach, right? So like the promise of a tzaddik or a rabbi, it's for this life and the world to come. Like I had a really close friend, and him and his wife were Dati Lumi. They used to have Macs and jeans and, just kind of the whole culture. Dati Lumi, everyone knows what Dati Lumi is, of course, Kippah Sruga, like modern Orthodox in Israel. And then out of the blue, the husband got into this Hasidic rabbi, really big guy, very serious rabbi. I went to go meet him. And the wife said, like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I thought we were doing this. And he was like, nope, this is my guy. I'm going with it all the way. So like she put up with it for a while. Then she was at the end of her rope. Because he went black and white and everything got very strict and the whole 9 yards. She went with it for a while, and then she hit the wall. She went to the rabbi. She went down there. She said, I'm going to fire you. I came to fire you. He said, he was a very cool guy. He said, you can do whatever you want. Do whatever you want, but if you stick with me, I'll give you a protexia in this life and in the world to come. Everyone knows what protexia, whatever. For those who online don't know what protexia is, it's like. An inside, I'll give you an in, I'll have your back. So he's a very serious rabbi, and she knew he was like talking seriously, and she went home. She thought about it for a while. She came back. She said, okay, we're going with it. Then they both went black and white, and they moved in with up his community and kind of like happily ever after, more or less. So the some of the new age stuff, some of the coaching stuff, it's good for this life. But the Rebbe Nachman's thing about us doing Hispodidus, it's we're not just focusing on this life. I know one thing he says in the books about Hispodidus is at some point in our Hispodidus we're supposed to like sort of cut off from everything in our life. We just like detach from every concern, every worldly thing. We're sort of just focusing on the total ultimate goal of life. And that's not always it's not always good for business. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It's kind of the limits of like a worldly coach, a business coach, or something like that, or a life coach is they might only be for success in this life, and then we neglect something else. Obviously, anyone has any like ideas during the class? Feel free to speak right up. But yeah, for us to take once a day and for part of the time to cut off from everything in our life and just focus on the ultimate thing. One thing it reminded me, I was thinking about the class today, so it reminded me of something that happened in my life that was pretty extreme. When I first became Baal Tshuva in Boston, like 15 years ago, 17 years ago, something like that, I was a little bit bored and I didn't quite get the halacha. I was just sort of like, going along with it because, the Chabad rabbis told me this is what you have to do. I was like, trying to be a good student, just do it. It wasn't really meaningful to me, and I was just kind of going along with it. And meanwhile, I got a book on Kabbalistic meditation. And before I become religious, I was really into meditation, real serious meditation paths and other things where people like, we're having all sorts of out there states and seeing things. So I was really into it. And so I got this book on Kabbalistic meditation. I thought, I'm a little bored here with the halacha. It's not quite speaking to me. I need some more meaning. I was stuck in Boston. It was not a very small Jewish community. I was felt kind of stuck and bored at business there. So I started doing these meditations, and I started to do some things where I kind of leave my body and go on these journeys, and I'd see things, and it's hard to describe, but it was just a lot more satisfying than Boston. It was a lot more interesting. It was a lot more sort of relevant, and I just started to started to go on these trips, and I come home after work.
On the road.
I went on the road, so to speak. And but the problem was what they say in Kabbalah. They say if you bring in more ore, more light than your kalim, than your vessels can handle, you start to go nuts. So sure enough, I started to become sure enough, I started to become one of these examples from the DSM manual about the person who gets in Kabbalah in the DSM manual, it has something called Jerusalem syndrome. It's right in the normal psychiatric manuals. Someone that goes, you can look at normal, I don't know if it still is, but it was a few years ago. The normal psychiatric manuals have something called Jerusalem syndrome, where, basically people move to Jerusalem and start to go nuts with sort of messianic type ideas. They think they're Mashiach, or they think they're Jesus or something. It's it's so prevalent that it made it into the regular psychiatric journals. So when I was having these experiences, I started to go a little bit nuts, not just a little bit nuts. I was I couldn't come down, and nothing I was doing would bring me down. I'm in a natural medicine. So, some people told me, eat more meat, do more exercise, this and that. I found a frum psychologist. It didn't work. Nothing worked. And I was starting to get a little worried, it's a little, it was a little out of my zone. And then one of my friends said, hey, you want to learn halacha with me? So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so we're learning the Rambam, I think Mishnah Torah, and on the spot, I felt this kind of it's hard to describe, but a very pronounced I kind of my soul dum dum stage by stage, on the spot, dum 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 came into my body, and I was very dramatic. It wasn't some sort of idea. It was very experiential, and so I thought, well, I guess I should learn halacha, and I think the problem with a lot of Breslov and a lot of Torah in America is it's kind of, it's this pleasant idea. People are either sort of grew up doing this, someone else can do that. They do it. It's kind of interesting. But it's it's sort of half dead, And so the Torah without the halacha, the Jewish law without the higher things is half dead, and the higher things without the Jewish law is you can literally go nuts, like an experience, Once I was thinking, maybe I need to check myself into an institution. I literally didn't know what to do. I couldn't come down. And it reminds me of the thing they say, 4 rabbis went to the Pardes, went to the orchard, and one of them becomes a heretic. One of them is Rabbi Akiva, the head of the generation. One of them dies, and one of them went crazy. So when I had that experience, I thought I could imagine how people die. You're going to the zone that's more satisfying than Earth, and you're just who cares? I can imagine if I had that thought deeply enough, who cares about life on Earth? I could have just floated away, kind of like an astronaut. The astronauts in the space journey, they cut the cord and they just float up into space. I can imagine it was that. It possibly was that simple. So the halacha, the halacha should be to contain our ultimate light, the ultimate light we can possibly hold. And if it's not that, it's just kind of just kind of going through the motions, just kind of going through the motions. It's another metaphor would be military code. You're in the army and you have military code. The goal isn't the military code. The goal is to war for the greatest general on earth, conquer, and you have to have some kind of discipline so that you don't.
It's interesting that the Shekhinah is contained in the Dalet Amot of the halacha.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah,
so it is.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's 100% the thing. And the whole. I don't know if I can mention them by name. Whatever. There's a popular center in America that does a lot with Kabbalah.
Everybody knows what it is.
No. My lawyer friend once told me online, don't mention anything about names because they can always come back to bite you later on. So there's a popular center in America that does a lot.
Capital of Missouri.
What's that?
one of the cities in Missouri.
It does a lot with Kabbalah without halacha, and like my experience over the years, a lot of problems in that. But for most people, it's not a problem because it's so they don't really get they're not really going for it. So there's just kind of watered down Kabbalah, watered down Torah, nothing to worry about except people get kind of bored, So my understanding of Rabbi Nachman from like learning his life and being around a lot of his serious students now is that he was like going for it, like full on. It wasn't a halfway operation. It wasn't a halfway operation. And they say a lot of people who go deep into the Kabbalah, they die young. Like also Arya Kaplan.
Like 30.
Yeah, like 30 something. So people can never quite understand why he died so young. It's something mysterious. Whatever. Okay, so in terms of going for the highest light, I asked Gadali before I covered his class. I said, can I talk about Rob Berland? He said, it's okay. It's okay. So it's not officially representing the Breslov Center, but it's just something that happened in my life. So on different things I was always going for the highest lights. And once I became religious, for the last 17 years, it's been like a nonstop journey for where's the highest light. And for me, it was, I found around Rob Berland. There's a whole long and weird story because I was super against him for about 8-9 years, like totally diametrically against him. I'd talk against him and get people to go against him. It was a whole long thing. Mostly because he just sort of rubbed people the wrong way his whole life. Even before the whole scandal, he was already like sort of actively rubbing people the wrong way, which made sense to me because a lot of the rabbis I was around before, they just, they were so serious about what they were doing. They'd rub people the wrong way. I was around Rav Steinsaltz for years, and one of my friends saw Rav Steinsaltz speak in Texas, and he said, it was a big stadium. He said, not a single person left the stadium that wasn't rubbed the wrong. He managed to like rub every single person the wrong way in the crowd, because it's that. Rabbi Nachman also said he only got to his level by letting go of things he was connected to throughout his life. So like a big tzaddik is naturally going to rub people the wrong way because he's going in a certain direction, and people are either going to follow or they're like holding on to something that, what I mean? It's just sort of like a math equation. So so I went on this like super long search for who had the highest light on the planet, and I went to around amazing people, and then just everything kind of one thing after another led me to Rob Berland, and I was saved. That's we watching those Christian guys on TV, but it does feel a little bit like that. And there's
it's a Jewish concept. The whole like you come to a product,
Yeah.
That whole Christian thing's a Jewish concept.
Yeah. They obviously got most of it from us.
Well, you're Jewish, and they're all Jews. Where else do they get it from?
Yeah. So I brought because a lot of people have a lot of confusion about Rob Berland because of the whole scandal on the news and all that. So I just had a little reading. My friend put out this biography. It's really amazing. I have it here. You can read it in the Beit Midrash. And so it says, insulting an insult lovingly protects 1,000 Jews. Over the years, Rob Berland gave a number of talks about lesson 260 from Likutei Moharan, the main book of Breslov everyone knows here. The following excerpt comes from a shir the Rav gave more than 20 years ago, where he described how accepting insults and humiliation with love could save the lives of thousands and even millions of people. The Rebbe says that in the merit of those who accept I'll take a little.
The shofar.
Take a little break here. So those long ones. Oh, it's gonna.
That's a live feed. So
The Rebbe says that in the merit of those who accept upon themselves disgrace, people are safe from getting killed. It says in Likutei Moharan, when a person accepts an insult lovingly, he saves tens of thousands of Jews from getting killed. To accept an insult lovingly is the same thing as a person protecting thousands of Jews. So in Likutei Moharan 260, what's that?
Most Jewish husbands are saving.
Most Jewish husbands are saving the world. Yeah. The hardest. I've never been married, I think, because I haven't like gotten to that level yet where I can get insulted, and just I'm working on it. Hopefully soon. Not easy, yeah, because there's nowhere to run. Usually, you just boss, you can quit. Friend, you can just walk away. Whatever. A marriage, not so easy. Although in America, with the divorce rate, it's like something
Yeah, but still,
astronomical.
you're attached to the rest of your life, especially if you have children.
Yeah.
Doesn't-
Even if you run,
Divorce doesn't solve anything.
In Israel, it's even more pronounced because the government, like, if you don't pay the child support, they keep you sort of locked in the country. It's a really wild system. So anyhow, in Likutei Moran, number 260, it says that sometimes the top tzaddik of a generation will purposely sacrifice his reputation. Instead of a korban, he'll take his reputation and sacrifice it. So that's when I first heard this explanation for Rob Berland, I thought, like, come on, sell me the Brooklyn Bridge or something, But I just thought that sounds like the most ridiculous thing I've heard. But then I just felt the need to research it. And then after about 2-3 months of researching, I thought, like, there's no other explanation that makes sense. I used to come in, my Havruta is a real expert in all this stuff. So I used to come in with like a list, like a notebook page full of questions every day. What about this? What about that? What about that? He answered them for like 2 months. And then I just capitulated. Okay. It says in Likutei Moran, number 260, that when a person lovingly accepts insults and disgrace upon himself, it's the exact same thing as when a person dies for the sanctification of God's name. So pretty amazing, right? I was teaching martial arts for a while in Jerusalem. I thought, like, what's the ultimate level you can take it to? Sort of like training to die for God's name, sort of take that direction. It's the exact same thing. When a person lovingly accepts insults upon himself, he can save the entire Jewish people. The Rebbe says that there are those tzaddikim who willingly and lovingly accept the insults that come their way, and there are those who are insulted against their will, and they also sweeten the judgments. They also save a number of people. So even if even if a tzaddik doesn't do it on purpose, something, they're entrapped, there's slander or something, it's still the same thing. But those who chase after insults, who are looking for people to insult them and disgrace them at every moment, and are trying to give a reason for others to disgrace them and insult them, these people are saving all of Am Yisrael. So that's like the black belt level to do it on purpose. So that's like just a sample. And but it's also with me, I've been around natural medicine my whole life and stuff with energy, and I became very sensitive over the years to energy. So with me, it was mostly energetic. I just sort of one by one went through every Rebbe, kind of serious Rebbe I could find in Israel. And there was a certain energy, and then I got to our Berland, and there was nothing like, I couldn't find any energy higher. Like if today someone, said, Baba, Fred, and Netanya is a higher level, I'd go check him out. And if he was, I'd switch. I'm not attached. It's not some like ideological thing. What's that? Yeah,
Just
they
brought
were.
him out. Yeah, you brought him out.
Yeah. Energy something which is like non-intellectual, for better for worse. So like before I became frum, I went to every energy master and everything, yoga and qigong and Hinduism and Sufism. I went to every energy master I could find. There's for sure people with like sort of higher energies than I could find in regular America, or I grew up Reform, or I could find in Reform. It's just kind of like Reform was like a dying fish or something for me. And but then when I got around higher things, those old paths, the energy felt something. I could feel the tummy in it. There's something like kind of impure, and then went from one rabbi to the next. So if it doesn't make sense to us energetically and intellectually and emotionally, and something's off, it has to line up all together. So I always tell people that are against Rob Berland, like, if you show me something better today, I'll sign up. I kind of went and checked everything
I'm
out.
taking pictures of them. It's like all white.
What's that? Oh, yeah, you saw that. Yeah.
In person, you look at him and he glows. I mean, it's in the movement at the.
No, I was around strange conspiracy theories before, which said, like, people realized he had incredible energy and powers. They'd say it was all from the dark side.
You can feel the Shekhinah sometimes. You can feel a house that has Shalom Bayit and a house that doesn't have Shalom Bayit.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
You can feel the Shekhinah.
Yeah, 100%.
That's how you can connect yourself to the Jews.
Yeah,
I
100%.
can feel it in the stomach.
Yeah, I can too. I can. I can.
Resonate. It resonates. It just feels like it's home. Like you walk inside your house and there's peace.
I can walk into a house right away and I feel right away.
Any side. You go to any huge, well respected with kedusha and stuff.
But sometimes it's too much kedusha. One time I went to someone's house. It was too much for me. I had to go out.
Yeah.
I actually it was too much for me.
I gotta try that sometime.
No,
I couldn't even breathe.
Yeah, no. In natural medicine, if you're detoxing, say you eat like hamburgers for 20 years and then you suddenly drink wheatgrass every day, your body starts to get rid of all the hamburgers.
Okay. Detox.
So same thing. If we go, that's another reason a lot of people I feel like stay away from Rob Berland. When they go towards him, they start to detox. Like, yeah, they just detox. That happened to me. I was so like I'd go to him and I just have to come home and just lie down for like the whole day. It was just so intense. I felt like everything in my
3 days
whole
later, your mind's just still blown.
Yeah, so I called my friend. I said, I can't do this anymore. He's making me sick. The Rob's making me sick. My friend said, you're probably just detoxing, and because of my natural medicine background, that's totally must be what's happening, But if I had known, I would have run away because it's you can't go towards something higher without the lower thing getting pushed away. I was telling someone this week there's some story about a guy who would go around America and he was some sort of high level psychic, non-Jewish, and he could do weird things. He could sit people in an auditorium and tell you what your credit card number was. Stuff that you couldn't really explain.
Yeah, so practicality wise,
what? Maybe they'll use the number.
Life better.
But so then one time he went to an auditorium and he said, his powers weren't working. He said, "Are there any Jewish people here?" So a lot of people raised their hand. He said, "No. Is there anyone like religious?" So, one guy raised his hand. He said, "No, you have to leave if you want my powers to work. You have to leave." So somehow like the lower stuff and the higher stuff can't exist at the same time, And so that's my feeling with Rob Berland. Like people get close enough, they either have to go against him or they have to follow him. There's no kind of like, and other people just stay on the outside. They say, it's not relevant to me. I don't really care.
They listen to the fake news.
What's that?
They like fake news. They watch fake news. Yeah. Because they were trying to bring Mashiach.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
I did the same thing.
One passed away,
yeah.
and you have to go to South Africa.
Yeah.
The other guy, Rabbi Cook, he gave up. He didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I heard this too. Yeah,
And there's the Bobby Eliezer. He was one of the 3. He gave up his life.
Yeah, he passed. I think one of them. I don't know who, but
it was all around the same time it started.
Yeah, it's not a simple equation. Yeah, or maybe he's the Mashiach himself. How do I know? All I know is he's the best. He's the best sort of general I know about, and I'm trying to do a little better job. Following.
The thing about being insulted all the time.
Yeah.
That basically cleans them out.
Cleans us out. It cleans us out. Like why? Like when it's the hardest thing to remember in the moment. But if something happens and someone insults me, it's somehow this cosmic chance for me to go to a higher. Yeah, and if I fight back at the person, it kind of like sets me back. Who knows how many steps.
Lower, because if you're high and you answer, and you're going to go lower than him.
Yeah. Like they say, that's saying in
English. What you said, it's a korban. It's you're sacrificing your self-honor. That's how it's purifying.
Yeah. So that's like self-honor. Obviously, like a desire for self-honor obviously can hold us down. So once the guy at the gas station, he's like, "Get out of my way, you idiot," or whatever. If we're like, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, whatever.
That's a very high level.
Like helps us to where does it feel? Do you know who you're talking to? I'll sue you. Whatever. It just like we're just building up our whole.
It's pushing God out of the picture. It's pushing God out of the picture.
It's pushing God out of the picture. Right. It's the thing in the Torah. They say if you chase after honor, it runs away from you, and if you run away from honor, it chases after. What's that? Yeah. If you look at Likutei 6, if you lower your honor and you raise the honor of God, and that's the one they always give us in terms of getting married. They say single people have to learn that because somehow if we're raising up our honor all the time, it's hard for us to get married. And the case in point of this. So
it can be a test too. When somebody is insulting you, it can be a test. If you don't answer anything, if you don't say anything, you don't curse it back. It's a test for you.
Yeah.
They checking how you're going to react.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And also, there's another halacha that we can't teach someone something unless they're open to hearing it. So when someone insults us, 99.99% of the time, they're not in a moment where they're open to hearing anything. They're just like unloading their trash on us. So in that moment, we have to somehow remember, okay, cool, thanks. It's kind of bad for them, but we can't really help them in that moment if they're not open to it. Like they say, like the American saying goes, we shouldn't stoop to someone's level. What's that saying? Right? It's like it's like right out of Breslov. Don't stoop to his level. I have a bad habit sometimes. I'm pretty good about not watching movies, but I have a bad habit I'll watch trailers. So I was watching the trailer for that some boxing movie with Jake, whatever. What was that movie? I don't know. At the beginning, he's like walking out of a press conference, and like this other boxer, like he's with his wife, and this other boxer insults him. He's like, you're a real man. You'd come against me. And his wife says, honey, just keep walking. Don't go to his level. And he like gets in a fight with the guy, and then the guy actually shoots his wife. It's a whole sad boxing movie. But it was like sort of this whole dynamic played out in graphic fashion. Okay, so here's one of Rabbi Nachman's best books on Spodus, Outpouring of the Soul. And it's what we were talking about before. Limits of meditation. True meditation and self-expression before God come when one has done so to such a degree that he'll feel his soul is about to leave him and he's about to die. So they're not talking about like the generic, boring meditation, like serious stuff. His soul is then bound to the body by nothing more than a hair-like thread due to the great longing and desire he has towards God. That was like my experience when I had that weird higher meditation. I felt like it was so much more, I was just like wanted to go to higher levels, so much more interesting and relevant, in this whole world of gas stations and whatever, just stuff I thought, who cares? It's just like, that's why I say I can imagine how someone would die because they're just like holding on to the world by just like a tiny bit, The Talmud speaks of this and says, a person's prayer is not heard on high unless he places his soul in his hands. A person's prayer is not heard on high unless he places his soul in his hands. When a person meditates, he's helped by God. He can then express his thoughts before God, just as a person speaks to a friend. One must accustom himself to converse with God just as he would with his teacher or friend. What does that line mean? A person's prayer is not heard on high unless he places his soul in his hands. In God's hands? Does it mean in God's hands? I don't get that. Someone help from the gallery? Okay. Yeah. So anyhow, America's very like when I was in Israel the last 12 years, I felt so much more lit up. You come here, it's like weightlifting. It's an extra weight to lift. So if we learn to bench like 300, we go beyond this country. It either sinks you or you like rise to a higher level. I was always impressed with Chabad when I lived in America before, just how a lot of Chabad rabbis could just have this like, go energies because they're the ones that learn how to bench. And then a lot of shliachs they close shop and they go get a job that didn't work out. They got crushed.
I always find it interesting that when you would see the Lubavitcher Rebbe in a Farbrengen, and thousands of people around, you would hold on to a handkerchief.
Yeah.
And I once asked, what's going on here? Well, he says, well, when he goes into his discourse, his neshama is flying. Yeah. And he needs something physical to come back down.
Wow.
Well,
that handkerchief
that's the anchor that he comes back down.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, and that's also like, the famous thing they say, don't learn Kabbalah until you're over 40 and married, because they say a single guy, he doesn't have something to anchor him, Yeah, he just do whatever he wants, unfortunately. Okay, so this is Rabbi Nachman's book on advice. How precious it is to rise at midnight in order to pray and meditate and study Torah. Try to make it a regular practice. Then you will be worthy of succeeding in the task of separating the good from the evil in the world. That's pretty far, right? Good and evil. You will also develop a good memory, which means always to remember your purpose in life and to keep in mind the enduring life you're destined for in the end. So that's like, how much more important if we're in America surrounded by, most people think the Torah is a joke or, something. How much more important for us to like pull back and like focus on the big picture? Because here, just the general milieu, can sort of sweep us down. In Israel, even if you're like off the derrick a little bit, the whole country sort of shuts down on Shabbat, even if they're not religious. One of my rabbis said that the taxi drivers in Israel know more Tanakh than like the rabbis in America. It's sort of true. They know the name of every street, every thought. They're sort of like I'll pay off the top of their head. So how much more important for us in America? Okay, good. Any thoughts of the class, ideas, questions, thoughts?
Well, I had a roommate who was a yoga teacher, and he went to ask. I think I remember who it is, the rabbi you know, but he was asking another rabbi, about like what's the difference between, because if you read like Hinduism and stuff,
Yeah.
like if you understand like Kabbalah and Hinduism,
Yeah.
you're like seeing it's like really identical stuff.
A lot of similar stuff, right?
Yeah, and he was asking this rabbi, what's the difference between Judaism and Hinduism and other religions that go to high? He said it's halakha. That's the difference. And what he was saying was like you can bring it down into this world. Because other ones, they go out and meditate and then they just like, stay celibate and it's like they reach high heights. They really do. But they can't bring it down into the physical world to have a family and kids. And
the interesting thing is, yoga and Hinduism, I don't know, from my study, which is quite a lot, they're not exactly the same, but they're very linked. They're not exactly the same. But anyhow, like the right, but whatever.
in general,
No, the whole thing is that Hinduism, they have a halakha, it's called Brahmanism. They have like a whole very in-depth, complete observance. Complete observance for every.
They believe in a million gods.
That's the.
Yeah, but you can also see it as the gods are energies. Like if you just kind of go more general and just say they're not gods, they're energies and stuff, you can kind of see like spirit, and
right. You could,
you see what they're kind of trying to say, like a.
No, the whole when I first was like deciding whether to go from, I was very into yoga and Vedanta and Hinduism, all this stuff at the time, and I had to ask like thousands of questions until I felt like comfortable that there really is a difference. For a while, I was very attached. Like, look, Rabbi, they're all the same, and because there is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Right,
but like the thing with it basically comes down to idolatry. Is the main thing. Like a lot of the Hindus will claim it's not idolatry, but they don't. I've yet to meet a Hindu that knows this halakha. They can claim it's not idolatry and prove it. According to our thing. His name Gil Lux has a whole book comparing Eastern.
Yeah, but I've also heard there was a Chabad Rebbe that actually went into like they needed a wedding hall or whatever.
Yeah.
And they had to, if it's used for Avodah Zarah, they couldn't use it. Yeah. But he found that it's like, there was a way. He found that it's not. It depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
It can also be not considered Avodah Zarah. It really depends on what you're. It depends.
I heard a beautiful story this week about Rabbi Moshe Meiselman, who's the Rosh Hashiva of Taras Moshe in Yerushalayim.
Yeah, where's that?
It's not the show,
Brisker kind of place. Yeah.
And he was speaking to one of his Talmidim who turned out to be a Talmud for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Brilliant guy. And he was talking about all his plans. And should you do this and this and this? Rabbi Meiselman said, one question you should ask yourself, is it good for your Olam Haba?
It's good for Olam Haba. Yeah. Heavy duty.
And that seemed to like.
Yeah.
Is what good for your Olam Haba?
Whatever plan he had, whatever decision he was going to make.
Okay.
He said, ask yourself this question, and that'll determine whether or not you move forward.
It separates the men from the boys. Separates the men from the boys.
And you think, wow.
Yeah.
That's the lowest common denominator to make a decision.
Yeah, that's where it gets complicated because a lot of these other paths, they're talking all about Olam Haba all day, and they have like proofs for why their path, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever, they have proofs for why their path is the best plan for Olam Haba. So that's where it gets, most people I was around in those kind of paths, they didn't take it seriously enough to really get to the bottom of it. A lot of Americans just kind of dabble, doing this, doing that. But the people that are really going for it, I met quite a few people that were really going for it in Buddhism, really going for it in Hinduism. There's a whole extremely broad explanation, all those systems of like why you get the best Olam Haba from there, Some Kiruv rabbi, I forget his name, he's brilliant, from a young guy from New York. He did this like share online, like a multi-part share where he just went through and disproves every religion one by one, very logically, So I think some people need that kind of thing to let go of something. I definitely did. I was so, so hooked and sinker. But yeah, there's whatever. There's kind of two approaches. One is to like separate ourselves, Meir Shearim style, like separate ourselves 100% from any other religion. The other,
unless you're doing Kiruv,
right?
You see like the Frank family, and
what's that?
You see like the Frank family. They were old Yishuv, they have no reason to go outside Meir Shearim. But Rav Mata Frank, Rav.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the Franks.
They would go out only for Kiruv. They would, they would go out and they would.
I thought you meant Shabbatai Tzvi had this.
No,
colleague called
not
Frank.
Frank.
No, there just a story about that. There was a guy from Shabbatai Tzvi was like a big false messiah, and he had like someone came after him who was probably even worse, named Frank. And there was a guy who came to one of my friends, and he said, this guy was in the Frank, I don't know, bloodline or something. And the Baal Shem Tov, I think it was, gave a curse on all the Franks,
Wow.
So this guy said, like, the Baal Shem Tov cursed my family, 250 years ago, and I can feel it, and there's nothing I can do to remove it. And he went to Rob Berland, and Rob Berland said, like, I'm going to remove it for you.
Well, Rob Berland himself, he would go to
Big
Tel
shoulders.
Aviv discos and stuff, and
Yeah,
teach what went to
yeah.
Iran.
Yeah, removing all the curses.
Rabbi Lubavitch studied it with them all.
Yeah, with was it Ari
Lubavitch.
the Ari Roosevelt.
Yeah, with Rav Siyari Roosevelt. Yeah, that was like a secret thing.
Chaim Kremer, father-in-law.
Yeah. Rav Siyari Roosevelt. Yeah, that was like a secret thing that
I
came
have a
out.
question for you.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So, considering that you were flying up in the sky before you really got into the Judaism aspect and you were experiencing whatever you were experiencing, do you believe that that's something, though, that as a Jew you are obligated or you should be doing?
Which part? To go higher, you mean?
To ascend, meditate, go up beyond yourself into a spiritual realm, yet at the same time, again, learning, obviously.
Right.
Do you think that that's like something
That's an awesome question. I read it, like, stopped me in my tracks. I think it was in Hayamora or something. I read Rabbi Nachman said, like, there's certain things that are higher than you need to get involved with, like a person has to know, like, and I remember I was talking all about my higher experiences once to Rav Steinsaltz, and I was like, I talked to another Kabbalist in Jerusalem. He's like, you have to go with it. You have to get back into it. You have to, So I talked to Rav Steinsaltz. Rav Steinsaltz was like, you should learn to walk before you can fly, kind of thing. So I think it all has to do with obligation. I don't know. Rabbi Nachman said we all can get to his level, and his level sounds like it was, way beyond that kind of stuff. So
He couldn't make the bracha once on a cereal or something because he just saw letters. He didn't see. You could just saw the Kabbalah letters.
But I think we're probably all obligated to get to our highest level. It's just a question of the right timing and order. My story was a story of like someone doing it way out of order. Yeah, like way out of order. I think it's very sincere. I talked to my Chabad rabbi at the time. He was a very high guy, Rabbi Bucket in Lexington, Mass, and he was like. He said, yeah, a lot of these Jewish Buddhists, they're like really like sincere. They really just want like God, and they just kind of don't get like a certain order or place to do it. Halacha, keep this thing out of my way, But I don't know that the reading from Rabbi Nachman where he's talking about like getting like detaching from everything to such a level that you could almost die. It kind of sounds like he's saying, we have to.
Did you feel that when you were at certain points? Felt like you could do that.
Yeah, I felt like if I kept going in a certain direction,
your soul would leave your body.
Yeah, it was also like a decision to like come back. When they talk about near-death experience and someone's like given a choice to come back, I feel like I can sort of just almost choose like like I'm gonna go that way and just like close up.
I'm saying before that when you said Baruch Rebbe for bringing thousands of people, hold on to it.
Yeah, it's very trippy. Yeah, I heard stories about him from people in Crown Heights that they like someone they went into his house once and he was sitting there just some meditation and he was just like not there. He was just like gone. He was. They
get miles for all this travel.
They get miles. Not that I know how to quantify yet. They said that the first 6 Lubavitcher Rebbe's used to tell people all their Gilgulim. It was just part of the thing. You're going for Yechidus. They just tell you, okay, you were Gilgul this past life. It's like, oh, okay, you were a milkman here, and this guy stole your chicken, and that's what whatever. They just tell people straight, and they say, why didn't the Rebbe in America do it? Because like it was already too weird for America. He realized the whole thing was too out there, so like scaled everything back. Yeah. We're live. We're live. What's wrong with this?
I noticed
something Chabad should be proud of.
I noticed like people that had experiences like higher realms, like meditation before they came to Judaism, or like certain kind of psychedelic drugs and stuff.
Yeah,
they usually are the ones that are the hardest core, like towards Tzaddikim. Like they go and like because they realize they realize this part. And it's like it makes their avodas Hashem a lot easier because they have like
right.
It's not like a dead fish. It's not dead fish.
No. They use. When they were young, they used drugs to like sort of break into some realm.
They realize there's other realms.
Before they knew better, and then they get serious, they become religious, but they know that there's something more than just gas stations.
Yeah, but I'm not condoning drugs.
Yeah. Like
in fact, I heard one. I don't know if he's.
It's in Torah. Torah weed, cannabis, Torah Boston. It's all over the Bible.
Yeah, but
it was used to smoke with.
You sure? Where's the?
You're right. Torah Boston.
I believe there's Makul.
If you show me, I'd like to see more. Yeah, I'd like to see.
Isn't there a Makul that won't let people study with him if they ever touch the drug? I believe they're.
Oh yes, yeah. Some yeah.
Yeah, because
Remember
Hashem
the-
wants you clean. If
Yeah.
you go to a level that you're not supposed to be with
Somebody went to post it.
something
So that's it.
that you're not
Yeah,
supposed
yeah,
to
yeah,
use,
yeah.
so then you are in you're in high level, but not
He's like, you lent so many
by
idiots into
you have to work on it, not just to get a shortcut.
Yeah. Exactly.
Not
yeah,
anything
exactly.
else.
Pop in, yeah.
I'm studying you tomorrow in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Show me what the thing about the cannabis.
Yes.
That brings us to an important topic, which is the history of Rastafari. So I like to talk about this. So I studied all this a little bit because whatever, I was in California for years. I was around reggae, whatever. I was around with all these white Rastas. And, the Rastafarians, my understanding is they somehow believe that Haile Selassie was the Mashiach. He was like the head of Ethiopia from 1930 until 1970 or some like huge reign. And so I talked to my friend from an Ethiopian friend once. I said, "What's the story with all this?" He said, "Listen, he says people from Ethiopia know that Haile Selassie was almost a dictator. He wasn't exactly like an enlightened guy. And what happened was he came to Jamaica once. There'd been a drought for like 6 years. He came to Jamaica in a big jumbo jet or something, and it started raining. So people thought, wow, a bunch of guys were smoking incredible amounts of marijuana every day. Wow." And then he also said, like, whoever wants to come back to Ethiopia with me in the plane, hop on. It was just larger than life for them. This black man who was like a world power leader or something. So apparently that's how it all started. Bennett demonstrated that the word for cannabis is kanesh bosom, also rendered in traditional Hebrew as kane or cannabis. The root kan in the construction means reed or hemp, which bosom means aromatic. Very interesting. But where does it say that they for sure smoked it as part of the?
I'm going to look for it.
Yeah, I've never found a breast rabbi that actually was like legitimate. Like,
I actually have a friend who wrote. What's that? That's a have nosh.
to me.
40 years of munchies.
So I think part of the plan, like the Rastafarians are so biblically connected. I think part of what's going to happen is enough of them are going to convert or become B'nai Noach, and then
What's with the hair? What's going on with that?
Shimshon's 7 locks were like said to be dreadlocks, right? So somehow they chase that, but they chase their whole line to Menelik. Menelik was the son of Queen Sheba and King Shlomo. And so, but that's it's.
I'm gonna go to La Masia.
Oh, Baruch Hashem, have a good trip. But
Don't forget to get mileage.
Yeah, it's for Italian.
I have your miles.
But there, Rastafarian is whatever. Most of us just classify it with like Karaites, with Messianic Jews, with Islam, with Christianity, with Frank, with Shabbatai Tzvi. It's all like interesting things that happened that weren't quite it, and then just went off in long.
Detour.
I think Rastafari is one of the smaller things out there, so it's Karaite. These are like, what's that place in
Samaria?
Yeah, these are like tiny movements. It's like 200 Samaritans, these tiny movements. But some of the other ones,
you read Hebrew?
My Hebrew is, I can.
Well, it says where it's mentioned. It says in like Shira Shirim, Yeshayahu, Nero, Cheskel. It's 5 times in the Torah. In Tanakh.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I have a friend who wrote a book called The Cannabis Hasidus, which is the whole book is trying to prove the relation. I wasn't convinced. It was interesting, but I wasn't convinced. It was like, sort of, see if the Baal Shem Tov was actually smoking weed. I have a hard time believing it at all, but whatever,
Yeah, but they changed the word to weed. Back then it was knebosem. So they changed it. With the time it's changed to a different name. They took this name and made it as a drug.
Yeah, no, I'm fine if they. No, I'm fine if they.
I have a cream. It's only CBD. I put it on my hip.
You can really feel. Yeah.
2 seconds.
Wow.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. Yeah, and it's not narcotic, right? CBD is not. It's
but you have to have less than 1% THC.
Yeah.
If there is more than 1%, then it's illegal to sell it. If it's less than 1%,
yeah, very low dose. Very low dose. It's even if like Rabbi Nachman's big thing on herbal medicine. That's part of why I went with Breslov, because I learned a lot about herbal medicine when I was younger as part of my training, and so when I read what Rabbi Nachman said about herbal medicine, I knew enough to know that he really knew what he's talking about. Most people talk about herbs, they don't know anything. He was deep in the game, right? Wow. And so yeah, the Baal Shem Tov was also a registered. He was, I was told in the city records of Mezhebush, he's registered as an herbalist. He's a registered herbal doctor, just like some neighborhood herbal doctor. And we have to remember back then, modern medicine wasn't really in the game, and herbal medicine was like a major medicine. So what Rabbi Nachman says about herbal medicine was, he says in Sefer Midah, the chapter on healing, he says every plant in the world has like a healing power, but he says to get it exactly right, to harvest it at exactly at the right time, to get the dosage exactly right. He said it's a huge thing, which is the same thing they'll tell you in Chinese medicine. You got to go to a certain province to harvest a certain fruit at a certain time. Make a whole thing about it, and therefore it's worth a lot of money, and it'll really work, and it probably will. But Rabbi Nachman says it's basically like it's not worth the hassle. If you're
good fun to do.
Yeah, no, he lists 3 things. He says if you're shmeres bris, if you're sexually pure, if you don't belittle other people, and one other thing I can't remember what it is. It's not that, it's something else. He says if you do those 3 things, then like your blessing over bread and water will like lift it up to a high enough level that you get the same. Yeah, you get the same effect. Same effect. So my little like game over time is like a lot of people in Breslov have all these high ideals about health, but they still have health problems or something. Rabbi Nachman seemed like he was saying you're trying to get an actual clinical healing, not like some higher imaginary. So I say I like that a lot of people in natural medicine say like to Breslov, where's the results? We want to see results. I think that's good. Like if we can't actually get a result, then maybe we should turn to a medical.
Somebody asked, I guess Rav Shalom, he goes to a doctor. Rav Shalom, he goes to a doctor, and people are like, well, can't you heal yourself? He's like, look, I got to do Kiro. You got to meet with it. Let me tell you one story. I had to meet with a bunch of doctors once, and I was doing Badadut on like being thankful over the situation. And I'm like thinking of my issue. Every doctor I met was Jewish, and I got to tell them like stories of Rabbi Nachman and everything else and Torah teachings. Exactly, and it was always like we bonded, and it was like looking back, I'm like, I didn't need that sickness. Yeah. Like they needed to hear these stories.
That's usually the only thing I give classes about. I kind of forgot today. I usually only give it about Breslov and health. My main topic, but the whole thing is that Rabbi Nachman famously also said, he said, don't go to doctors, but if you do go to a doctor, only go to the best doctor, which is like an interesting thing, kind of like a real seriousness to it, because most people, they don't really, they go to someone that they don't take that seriously, and the whole thing is just like a circuitous run around. You think, so if someone seeks the whole world and they figure out this guy is the best doctor, okay, hopefully they're going to take him seriously. They're going to, take the whole process more seriously and get a real cure, So it's a whole, I heard the Saba, Yisrael Adesser, the guy behind Nana, I heard he used to, he was like coughing out blood or something. People like, Saba, you should really go to like a real doctor. And he was like, no, I won't. He was completely, he'd be completely like, rigid, like Breslov, we don't go to doctors, I have a Breslov friend who once had like a terrible injury. His leg was all like looking completely horrible, like one of these, third worlds, like something from the third world. So his parents like got me to go, like beg him to go to a doctor, it's in the middle of nowhere, and I go up there. So I brought him to a doctor, and he just wanted to please his parents. They're big Talmud Chacham. So, brought him out there, and he, the doctor said, you have to do this thing. He's like, no, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And I saw him like a year later. It's all cured. He somehow, I thought like in this case, I wish he would go to a doctor. I'm a little worried. And sure enough, cured. Some people, but it's some like the game of chicken. The game of chicken. 2 cars driving each other. So it's a little impressive. It's a little bit like the game of chicken kind of thing. Like you have a disease. Who can hold out the longest and try to cure it themselves before they break down and go to the doctor. There's something cool to that, It can also obviously get out of hand. I'm not saying there's probably plenty of cases like with Christian Science in America. There's always cases. There's a similar thing. They wouldn't go to the doctors and let them die, and then America sued them.
You have to have the faith. You have to the faith that's going to work. Like you said, chicken. It's going to come down to where like they're going to like, dude, you're going to die if you don't go to the doctor. And you got to say like, look, it's not so simple. It's
a good question. I also heard Rob Berland was mechel about this because I didn't hear it firsthand. I heard through the community that he says that like, the doctors in the old days were really, it was like a whole different scene where there was like, no, the opposite. The opposite. Like in the old days, there's a lot of the medicine was completely like primitive. Primitive, and people go in that actually, get, the worst kind of malpractice and stuff. and that modern medicine is like, some of it is going in a direction that's more mature. So I heard that he was in his meichel about this, his community. But yeah, like I'm for like a complete cure. So if we have some problem and we're doing hisbodedus for it, we should actually be getting results. If we're not, something's got to give. Hisbodedus has to go deeper. So, the idea is not to like just be suffer with something ongoing. Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts, closing thoughts, questions, ideas, comments.
This is just throwing it out there just because you like the information.
Yeah.
So one of Rav Shalom Arush's students had a child. I can say his name because he wants people to,
it's publicized.
Yeah, he actually put it online, the thing to do, but it's Dr. Zev Berland.
Yeah.
Psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Okay, so
psychiatrist?
Yeah. I believe he had a question about he wrote it on his blog. I don't know if it was his family member or what, but somebody had a question about their child had autism.
Yeah.
And
vaccines and all that.
No, they had autism.
Yeah.
And he asked Rav Shalom Arush, it's like a tikkun or something for this. And he said Rav Shalom Arush wouldn't tell him the name of the tzaddik, but he said this tzaddik got from Eliyahu Navi to do this tikkun, and the guy did it. I don't remember if it was the Berland himself or he was just telling the story. But the son was like, last I heard, he was like 60% healed of his autism. Wow. And it was like it's something to do with like Thursday night. You can't talk from the time sun goes down. And it's like third of the night you learn Gemara,
something
third of the night
intense,
you learn. And it's like, it's not that hard, but it's just, it takes dedication. But he wrote it down online though, the tikkun. It's not that difficult.
That's what I was trying to say. The whole question with medicine and Breslov is,
and by the way, there's no science, like Western medicine can't heal autism. It's not like a.
That's exactly what I was trying to say, and I sort of slipped my mind. The whole question with medicine and Breslov is, if someone turns to the medicine, are they only going to cover up the symptoms and miss out on the chance to do a deeper cure? Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So that's the whole question. As we know, so as we know, like a lot of Western medicine seems in general to only treat the symptom. But then a lot of natural medicine, when it's really done right, is going for a deeper cure. So maybe that's like, more in the right direction. At the same time, it's still like relying on someone outside yourself. You know what I mean? So say someone goes to the best natural doctor in the whole country, that person's still like, they might be missing out on the chance to do some sort of internal rectification and tune. You know what I mean? I used to only do pressure point treatment on people. And people would just undo whatever good I did. And I felt like, okay, I got to teach people how to change their health, or else it's just, going in circles forever.
Keep them employed.
Right. The problem if you cure everyone is there won't be any more work. So there's 7 billion people. So if I saw every person once, say every person paid $1, still end up with $7 million. All right, final closing thoughts.
I see it on my phone, but it won't let me do it. But it says tikkun for autism.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the vax thing. So I was
maybe changing something in the DNA when you do.
I don't know. It could be. I don't.
Right. Because a lot of times they say that can't be cured. It's genetic. But thing is,
they can say whatever they want.
Yeah. No, I know. There's a whole.
Judaism's above Muslim.
My friends in a school of Chinese medicine, where their goal in that school is to be able to change the DNA. Very deep stuff.
Oh yeah.
Proof now you can do it. Proof now you can do it.
Like what's the
The doctors are saying that you can change DNA.
Really? I love it. Yeah, people are always saying, "Oh, I have this thing. It's genetic."
Neuroplasticity, and you can change.
Wow. What's neuroplasticity? What's the definition of neuroplasticity?
You can change your brain.
Your brain's like plastically.
You can change it.
Make it smarter.
Yeah, I know. Dave Osprey is this guy. He combines like high tech and holistic stuff. So he has some institute you can go to in Seattle. It's like $20,000, and it's like a week, and they like reprogram your brain technology. And he claims you can come out with like 20% improved memory or something. Just through technology.
Do that hisbodedus for free.
Exactly. Well, you can if you can. That's the it's back to like.
Are we allowed to get involved and change things in the human body? Because if Hashem wants me like that,
right? It's very.
And I'm going to pay $20K to change something in my brain, and it's against Hashem because He created me in a different way.
I doubt it is. I'm not enough of a halakhic. I'm not at all a halakhic expert. I just studied some, but I doubt it is. But if you want to get into the question together, I'd love to find out because I doubt it is because it's just stuff. It's not like something. If someone's gonna like plastic surgery or something, so that might be. I don't know the halakhics of this other, but just stuff that's like cosmetic or sex changes or something like this. I think it's obviously against halacha, but stuff through technology that improves your innate function. I doubt it's against halacha. I bet it's encouraged. I'd have to get into this more. But medical halacha is a huge field in the last 40 years. Just endless.
Yeah, why are you doing it? Is a big thing.
Yeah, it's complex. Complex thing. But in general, the real poskim don't want people to be less healthy. Thank God. What one thing I found was the stuff from YU, Yeshiva University. They seem much more on the ball in terms of what's going on now. Rav Belsky, he was a huge posek from Sanhedria. He wrote a book a year or two ago that was very against alternative medicine. And he's a huge posek that only good things should be said about. But what I felt was missing from the book is he didn't mention the whole movement in alternative medicine to combine it with conventional medicine and make it legitimate, functional integrated medicine. I wish he was alive so I could have given that feedback. But yeah, we should all be as healthy as we can in a kosher way.
Amen.
Okay, Hashem. All right, thank you guys. Thanks a lot for coming.
That's beautiful.
I know we had two guys in our theater once